Hey, what's up guys? Will here. Today we're going to go ahead and talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Day, what it is, what you're going to be doing during it, and then afterward we're going to go ahead and show some tips and tricks for this Codebreaker starter deck. If you do not care what Yu-Gi-Oh! Day is or you know what it is, I'm going to leave a timestamp in the description so you can click that and just skip right ahead to the tips and tricks that maybe you'll learn something, maybe you'll get an edge up on your opponent during the actual events. But first things first, we got to talk about what Yu-Gi-Oh! Day is, and it's just a day that celebrates Yu-Gi-Oh! And just it gives a new way to get a newer player playing. There's also some really cool prizes. You can get for the first place player, you get an exclusive game mat. This is the only way you can get it. And for the top 8 players, you get these Field Center tokens, and I'll do my best to show them on screen. Field Center tokens are really just collectibles there, and they can also help if you and your opponent don't have a mat with the extra monster zones. It'll show where the center of the game board is, and you can play your link monsters to the side of it, and because columns and stuff are important now. And the mat is just a cool thing to have, and almost every single player should have a mat when they're at events. It keeps your stuff clean, and you never know what's left on that table that are going to get on the back of your cards and possibly ruin them. It also just shows that you care about your own stuff. So that's what you can win. How you enter is that you have to first find your local or official tournament store. We call it OTSs. And find out if they are hosting it and when they are hosting it. Now, I believe it is only available on the 14th and 15th, so if you're watching the video on the 13th, tomorrow, and the day after, Saturday and Sunday, you need to find out when they're having it. Go a little early, because you are going to need to purchase one of these, which is your cost of admission. You just purchase one of these, and you can be entered into the event. There's no $5 cost or whatever associated with the thing. You go in, you buy the deck, you get to play if you want. I would also recommend when you are buying this deck to also buy some sleeves to go with it, because no one likes playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Without sleeves. Not only does it protect your stuff, it makes it a lot easier to shuffle, and just like having the mat, it shows that you care about your own stuff. Certain cards here, like I know Transcode's like a $3 card, at least at the time of recording, and Link Kribo is something like $5 US. So these cards aren't cheap. Especially if you do follow the card market and you are, it'd be bad to ruin someone's $5 card, just as simple as that. And if you get your $5 card ruined, well, that's your own fault for not being prepared and not taking care of your own stuff, I guess. But yeah, so the whole event is that everyone duels each other with this starter deck. Everyone has the cards in this, no one has anything different. If you see anything different, I would definitely inform someone so that either that cheater could be punished or we can find out what's going on. Every single deck should have the same cards, unless it was a Konami printing issue. With even then, it would be sorted out. But regardless, you bring this, you play it, you learn it, you love it, you have a good time. Pretty much simple as that. I would recommend bringing a friend, so when you do end up buying sleeves, you can color code your cards, so you can have your extra deck cards a different color. So when they do get mixed up in the graveyard, if the round ends, you win or lose, it's easy to reset instead of looking through it going, oh, where's the transcode talker I've been looking for? It's just color-coded, easier to find. Yeah, bringing a friend's great, especially someone who either is new to Yu-Gi-Oh!, wants to get into it, or, they've been playing for a while and you just want to bring a buddy. It's always fun to have friends to play with, and you can talk about how your games went afterward and how you lost, how you won, and maybe some tips and tricks your opponent used against you that you can share with your friend afterward. That's pretty much Yu-Gi-Oh! Day. I already talked about the rewards, what it is, how to get in, and just, guys, if you're on the fence about going, I would just really, really go. It's a great opportunity to get either yourself or a friend more involved in your local, and it's really just there to have a good time. I know there's rewards, or I guess prizes for the top players, but it's all in fun and games. I'm going to do my best to win the mat and the field center for you guys, just so I can show off a little, but if I don't, I'm not going to be too upset. Some people might not, maybe only 8 people will go to your local and everyone will get one, which it's kind of small, but hey, you know what? You might as well go and have fun. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Yu-Gi-Oh! Day. We're going to go ahead and show some tips and tricks. I'm not going to do a cut here, so it's going to take me a little bit to set up. So if you want to bear with me and just, deal with it. I might fast forward this if it ends up taking too long. So first things first, we're going to go through some of the cards that are really important to play around, because there's only a certain amount of cards that, can destroy your own cards, and if you know them, and if your opponent have used them, not as efficiently as they could have, you're going to end up winning. So these 5 cards are what you're really going to be after to start, because these are all get rid of your monsters in one way or another. So first one is the evacuation device, and what this does is that it targets one monster on the field, and you return it to the hand of the opponent. Now, if this is used on a Link monster, I am 99% sure it goes back to the extra deck. So if you use this on a transcode that just used 3 monsters for, that's crazy value. That's the way you get good use out of this card, and you get rid of a threat on your opponent's field, which is, really nice and straightforward and just, great to have. Next will be Torrential Tribute, which basically when an opponent's monster is summoned, you can activate this and it will destroy all monsters on the field, even your own. So you don't want to be wiping your entire board that you've spent all game creating to just kill one of their monsters. So use this sparingly, but again, be aware that your opponent can use and have it. And if it's in the graveyard, you're more likely to be able to go a little more aggressive. Next is Dark Hole, which is a very similar thing. It's just a magic card, or I guess a spell card now. Just destroys all monsters on the field, again, including yours. Don't get caught off guard by this, because everyone's going to have it. Next is Mirror Force. This is one of the few cards you can actually play around. If you if you think your opponent has this set and you go to attack, and they activate this, and all your monsters are in face-up attack position, they all get destroyed. So if you have a suspicion that this is on the field, maybe change a few of your monsters to defense. So if they do have it, you haven't just killed your whole board. Next, we have Bottomless Trap Hole, which just destroys. It banishes a monster on summon with 1500 or more attack. This is really good against Link monsters that your opponents can have, especially Transcode, because Transcode can help bring other Link monsters from the graveyard to the field. This is great to get rid of it, not have to worry about it for the rest of the duel. Sorry, my throat's a little dry. But these 5 cards are the main cards you're going to need to play around, because they are scary to run into and can win and lose you the duel. Now, ways to get around these cards, we don't have that many ways in the structure deck. I know we have a Beast King Barbaros. If you tribute 3 cards to summon him, you get rid of everything. I believe it is on your opponent's side of the field. Yep, all cards your opponent controls. That includes their back row, their spell and trap cards. This is the it's a good way to get rid of it, but at the same time, it is it costs a lot of resources, which can suck. Next is Link Slayer. He's a special summonable monster that basically will allow you to discard 2 cards from your hand and destroy 2 cards your opponent controls. Let's get a bit of angle on these cards. So yeah, you can discard 2 cards, destroy 2. So it's a really great way to get rid of some cards, but you do lose some cards from your hand, which can suck. The next easiest one is Mystical Space Typhoon. Just straight up targets a spell or trap card your opponent controls and destroys it. This does not negate in a chain, so the opponent card will go off, but it's nice to just pick off a card, and that might be a trap hole or something that is scary that you don't want to deal with. But these are the only 3 ways you can get rid of spell and trap cards on the field, and 2 of them cost quite a lot of cards to use. So you're going to have to play around the cards that are scary. Next thing we're going to have to talk about is Supply Squad. Supply Squad is going to be one of, if not, the strongest cards in this format. Now, because there's not a whole lot of crazy special summoning going on, a lot of killing, a lot of monsters die. And if you have this on the field first, and if your opponent kills 3 of your monsters, you're drawing 3 cards over the course of 3 turns. That is nuts, and it's free draws basically. And again, the only way to get rid of this is through Space Typhoon, through Link Slayer, or through Barbaros. Like it's gonna be crazy, and it's gonna be one of the hardest cards to get over. And if you see this in your opening hand, you're probably in for a show. Next we got is Monster Reborn. Now everyone knows what this does because it's one of the most iconic cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! But it just straight up reborns a monster. If you think you've dealt with something, it can always come back. Now, there are 40 single cards in this deck, so every single card has the same, I guess, percentage chance to draw. So this is going to be, it's going to be rare. It's a 1 in 40 chance to draw it, pretty much. So we'll see what happens, but to revive one of your big Link monsters is going to be a big deal. Next, we have Book of Moon. Now, not only can Book of Moon stop your opponent's monster from attacking or help you get over maybe a Beast King Barbaros with 3000 attack by putting it in defense mode, it also can do some interesting things on your turn, or I guess to your monsters, that might not otherwise think of. So the first thing you want, or the first thing you can do, is you can actually make your Beast King Barbaros have 3000 attack again. So Beast King Barbarossa's effect, if this wants to focus, hello. Doesn't want to focus. But basically, you can normal summon or set this monster without tributing, but his original attack becomes 1900. So instead of this nice 3000 attack, you're kind of stuck with a 1900 beater, which isn't a bad thing, but at the same time, it could be better. So if you have Beast King Barbarossa on the field, and for some reason your opponent couldn't get over it, next turn you activate Book of Moon on your own Barbaros, it gets set. So it gets flipped face down, and now, on your turn, you can flip summon him, and since his effect wasn't the reason why he got summoned, again, because he got flip summoned, he is back to 3000 attack. That's a really easy way to get a huge monster, and I know this card is going to be one of the scariest things to go against on Yu-Gi-Oh! Day. So we got to watch out for this, and watch out for this Book of Moon play. Next thing we can do is also flip back. Right, I believe it's Raikou? I'm not sure. But you can flip him back. So his effect is that you can destroy one monster on the field, but then you have to send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. This card, you can flip it back up and down after you flipped it, and guess what? You can flip it back again and destroy another card, which I guess is another way you can get over some problematic spell and trap cards, or mainly monsters, really. You can also use this on... where is it? I set some cards apart, and I guess I grabbed the wrong ones. You could also use it on Marshmallow, which, you know, he can't be destroyed by battle. And after damage calculation, if he was attacked face down, your opponent takes 1000 damage. So you can again flip him back face down, and your opponent has to run into him, and of course we'll take another 1000 damage for free. So that's nice. It's of course I don't think it's the best use for it, but it's definitely a use for it. All right, that's Book of Moon. Next we have Card Trader. This is going to be it's okay. It's definitely not as good as Supply Squad, but if you have a card in your hand that you don't want, you can shuffle it and draw one on your standby phase. So you're pretty much drawing 2 from your deck. But it's going to be helpful. What else do we got? We have Battle Fader and Swift Scarecrow. Now, both of these cards will prevent you from being hit by a direct attack. Battle Fader will special summon itself, and it ends your opponent's battle phase. So this stays on your field. This is also a really easy way to get Link Karibo on the field. Swift Scarecrow, never want to summon him unless you are absolutely desperate. But basically, he is a hand trap that if your opponent attacks directly, you can pitch it to the discard it to the graveyard, and ends their battle phase and negates the attack, so you don't take any damage. Next, we have Text Changer, which basically, if your opponent is targeted for an attack, you can negate it and then special summon a Cyberse monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So it lets you search pretty much and gets whatever Cyberse monster you want. Just be wary that this effect exists, because if you attack not knowing and they go, ha, Text Changer effect, your attack doesn't work and I get a bigger monster than you. That could be scary to get over. Now, what else do we have? We have some pretty beefy 2000 defense monsters that if your opponent sets, you're pretty, it's scary to get over. It's not easy to get over them. So if your opponent's playing defensive and face down, it's probably one of these 3 guys with 2000 defense, and if you have a card that you don't think can beat it, you might not want to attack at all. At the same time, it's really easy to bluff your opponent into thinking that you have one of these 3 cards face down, and stop them. Now, we can go into our extra deck and just talk about the cards. Link Slayer is very generic. It can be used on Scapegoat and I believe it's any normal monster, so it would be able to use on your Bitron, on the Flame Velguard. And it's just, if you have another normal monster in hand like the Leo, where is it? Where is he? Leotron. You can special summon to the field. He does go in defense, but next turn you can, of course, turn him to attack. What do we got next? I think the most important card in this whole deck is going to end up being Link Karibo and how you use him. His effect reads that when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you contribute this card, and you change that opponent's monster attack to 0 until the end of the turn. So basically, if it changes attack to 0, he no longer attacks, or if he does attack, he's going to take some damage and die, which is really, really cool. And then he also has the effect that you can use a quick effect on either player's turn. If he's in the graveyard, you can tribute a level 1 monster and special summon him. So you can use this effect again, which is really good. And he also can combo that off with Scapegoat, and there is a combo with Scapegoat we're going to show later in the video to get all of your big, powerful Link monsters on the board. One of the strongest cards, and probably the best deck, and the best card in the structure deck. Pentstag, I still don't know how we're supposed to pronounce him, but if any linked monster on the field attacks its defensive position, it does piercing. Super great. You know, if they have a 0 defense monster, and they're in defense trying to play defensive, boom, they're getting dealt full damage. Super easy. Have to use 2 effect monsters to get them on the field, though. Next, Decode Talker. Most people know what this does already, but basically, if he's pointed to people, he gains 500 attack for each monster it points to. And if your opponent activates a card effect that targets a card I control, or yourself controls, you contribute 1 card this card points to and negate the activation. This means if your opponent has a card up here that it's pointing to, you can get rid of their monster to negate their own thing. Really easy removal, and he can get pretty big pretty quick. But most people know what he does. Last, we have Transcode Talker. Probably the strongest Code Talker right now, in my opinion. He gets to take a link monster from your graveyard that is rank 3 or lower, and special summon it to an arrow that he points to. And if he summons an arrow he points to, and they're co-linked, they both gain 500 attack. So if you have him pointed to Pentstag, or however this would work, you have a 2100 beater, and you have a 2700 beater. That inflicts piercing, and that your Pentstag can't be targeted because of the Transcode's effect. Super, super strong. If you can get these on the field, you're probably going to win. But we do have not a turbo, but a way that you can get on the field pretty easy. And we're going to go ahead. So my recorder stopped recording, so my apologies, but we're going to go ahead and show that turbo. So what we're going to do is we're going to have just Scapegoat in our hands, and we're going to say we have nothing else. We've just got board wiped by a dark hole, and we have no other way to get around it. My opponent has a 2000 monster on the board. Let's just do this for fun. He's this on the board, and I have nothing else besides Scapegoat. So what we can do is we can go ahead and set this card face down for our turn. Now, a lot of people are scared to lose life points, of course, but they are a resource, as most of us know. The only number that matters is when you hit 0, because that's when you lose. Now, say I have 4,000 life points left, say my opponent has the same, and I'm going to go ahead and end my turn here, and then my opponent goes and maybe doesn't have anything to play, so he's going to go ahead and attack my life points directly. I take 2,000, I'm now at 2,000. And that's okay, because again, they're just resources. Now, when my opponent's done his turn, he's going to say, okay, it's your turn, I pass, so go ahead. I'm going to say, before I draw, during your end phase, I'm going to activate Scapegoat. Now, what doing this at the end phase does is it stops the restrictions from happening to you. So normally it would read that they can't be treated for a tribute summon, and you cannot summon any monsters the turn you activate this card. So, playing on your opponent's end phase, it was activated on their turn, so you don't have any of the restrictions that you would otherwise have if you played on yours. So we're going to go ahead and get 4 tokens. Now with the tokens, we can start link summoning them, because it's not a tribute, to get a bigger board. So first thing, we're going to use the first one, and you want to use the one that's under your link zone that you want to use. So we're going to go ahead and use this one. So we're going to go ahead and link summon 1 to get Link Spider. Now, if you had a card that, actually, no, you don't even want to special summon with its effect. So what next thing you do is you would link summon your next token for your Link Karibo. You can do this in any order, it doesn't really matter. Next thing, because you have 2 effect monsters on the field, you can link summon with these guys to get your Pentstag. Now, Link Karibo's effect in the graveyard lets you take one of your level 1 normal monsters and basically trade them out. So now you have a Link 2 and a Link 1. Now this 2 plus 1 equals 3, so we take these 2 as a Link summon to either transcode or decode. For this combo, we're going to go ahead and get transcode, and with transcode's effect is that you can revive a level 3, 2, or 1 Link monster from your graveyard. So we're going to grab our Pentstag. Now, just like I said before, you have a 2700 beater and a 2100 beater that can't be targeted, and they both inflict piercing. And for next turn, or when you pass your turn, you still have a token on the field, which during your opponent's turn, you can activate Link Karibo's effect in the graveyard again to get him on the field. Crazy. This is an easy way to win every single duel if you can grab Scapegoat. There's almost no way your opponent can kill you in one turn. Super, super strong, probably the best combo in the entire deck. Everything else seems pretty straightforward besides this single interaction. I'm trying to think of any other way, any other cards that you're not going to be able to use properly. But crazy, crazy, crazy good. Really easy to use, and just, you know, take your time, read your cards, and learn what they do. That's going to be all for me, guys. I did talk about some of the other cards in the previous video where we did open them. And I can go in detail if you guys really want, but otherwise, we're going to leave it at this, show this combo off to end. But once again, guys, sorry my video crashed, but thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss any one of our videos. Throughout this weekend, we're going to be posting videos daily, all associated with the Codebreaker starter deck. I believe tomorrow Jade and I are going to have some live duels to show what this deck can do and how interactions play out. But yeah, once again, guys, thanks. Have a good day.